Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is actually going to be like a re-upload of the original video because I'm kind of still new to this YouTube stuff, and when I did this video, when I edited it, I kind of watched the first half of it and I was like, yeah, it's good. Not even realizing, like, literally a minute after the, I guess, second half, like the first 6 minutes, it was terrible. Like, all the audio was all over the place. So I uploaded to YouTube like a clown, and then luckily, you know, my channel is still small, so people didn't really see it, so I deleted it. So this is gonna be like a, you know, fully finished version. I'm gonna watch the whole thing before I upload it. I know, amateur hour, right? Alright, so this is gonna be like my critique on Blackbond's review of God of War Ragnarok. Alright, so I think with that being said, let's get into it.
The best part about the game is when you're not playing it. The worst part about the game is when you actually have to pick up a controller.
So obviously he didn't like the gameplay, but we're gonna see why in a bit.
This game is the definition of could have just been a movie. You want to go on YouTube, find one of those channels that literally just uploads the cutscenes and the integral parts of the story? Yeah, go watch this game. No point in playing it.
Imagine telling people not to go play the Game of the Year runner-up, especially the sequel to the Game of the Year winner, God of War 2018.
First con overall, the camera. It should have taken 30 seconds of anybody playtesting this game to realize that the camera is way too close.
One of the first things I noticed when I started Ragnarok was that the camera was slightly further away from Kratos than it is in God of War 2018. In addition to character models being slightly smaller, it takes, as he said, about 30 seconds to realize this.
But you can literally see 2 feet on your left and about 8 feet on your right, possibly 12 feet on your right. The damn camera is so close. It is way too close. Don't believe me? Why are there yellow arrows to tell you when there's people around you? Why are there red arrows to tell you that people are about to attack?
When he said this, it made me question whether he played the previous game. If not, then why are you playing and reviewing a direct sequel? That's a bit odd. But allow me to explain one of the core aspects to the God of War combat throughout the entire franchise. That being keeping the enemies in front of you at all times. Even in the old franchise, it was always best to keep the enemies in front so that when you attacked, you could hit most of them without having to turn. Also, Kratos had an omnidirectional block, which went well with the wide perspective based camera. They needed to find a way to keep this core aspect of crowd control in the new God of War. They did this by removing his omnidirectional block and reducing the amount of enemies you have to fight at once. In the old games, you can fight up to 20 enemies on screen as opposed to 5 to 10 enemies in the new games. In the new God of War, more responsibility is placed on the player to crowd control without being too outnumbered like in the old games. I can understand if you prefer one over the other, but making it seem like it was a fault of the devs is nonsense. It was by design. This new camera style is starting to get more popular and popular. Now we know it's in God of War, it's also in Evil West, and it's also been introduced in the new Witcher 3 update. I can't say for sure if it's new, but I've only really seen it in God of War.
Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, Bayonetta.
All three of those games have a particular camera style and play style that you seem to like more than God of War. It's that simple. Saying one is better than the other, or at least implying it, it's not a valid critique.
Outside of that, trying to clunkily navigate between multiple targets with Z targeting that is exponentially inferior to Ocarina of Time, an N64 game.
For those who don't know, Z-targeting is a lock-on feature. Now, considering he's trying to use the lock-on feature in God of War, that tells me all I need to know. Locking on enemies in this game is not good. Reason why, the game is too fast-paced for the lock-on feature. They should get rid of it altogether, honestly. But if you wanted to use it, it does work as intended. It's not trash or worse than the one in Zelda Ocarina of Time. That's all cap.
Sloppily built and constructed controls. I mean, stupid.
The controls in these new God of War games are almost identical to the old ones. You have a light and heavy attack. You have 3 special attacks by holding L1, then inputting light, strong, or circle. The only new attacks I think are like the callback feature with the axe and the awaken attacks with the axe, but other than that, the controls are almost identical.
The combat is just stupid. You don't feel like the God of War. You feel like the God of Mid.
Or you could just be mid at the combat. There's also that.
When I play Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham Origins, Arkham City, Arkham anything, when I punch an enemy, you feel like you're making an impact. You feel like you're literally mopping people, like you're literally hurting people, breaking people.
Are we even playing the same game?
Outside of like, like the Juggernaut enemies, when you hit somebody, they react. Now, I'm the God of War in this game. And I could literally punch a dude 3 times in the stomach, in the kidneys, 3 body shots, 3 kidney shots. These enemies don't react.
So if you watch my response to Synthetic Man, then you know that he's referring to the enemy's poise. Even in the old God of War games, brute enemies like the Minotaurs and Centaurs essentially had poise. You can only stagger them with strong attacks, but not light attacks, unless they're in the recovery frames of certain attacks of their own. I feel like this is a mechanic that people seem to not notice in most video games that have light and heavy attacks, but you think they notice, right? Dark Souls 2 just turned it into a stat, but the mechanic of brute enemies or even normal, stronger enemies on higher difficulties, not flinching from light attacks, is old.
Literally rip enemies in half. Punch through boulders. Like, punch through gods in a cutscene, but a regular bald peon peasant, 3 kidney shots and they don't even flinch. Stupid.
Kratos' strength depicted in cutscenes are for dramatic and cinematic purposes only. If Kratos had the same strength he uses in the cutscenes in gameplay, there would be no game.
Not only is combat annoying, the game annoying, but the pacing of just walking, looking at puzzles, hitting X, looking around the environment. What do I hit with an arrow? What do I hit with a purple arrow? How do I connect these flames? How do I, like, it's stupid.
Most puzzles in this game are optional. There are very few puzzles that are directly tied to the story progression.
Yeah, you get one character, you and Atreus, and like you're in like some underground shrine or whatever. I don't want to really do any spoilers or anything, but the pacing is terrible.
Now he's talking about story pacing. So the part he's referring to right now plays right into the progression of the story as Atreus learns about Ironwood and Freya learns about Groa's prophecy.
And then you go meet a new character, a female character, and you're in a jungle and you're riding on a giant water buffalo, literally, through the swamp. And like the pacing at parts of this game is god awful.
Now I'll agree, the part with Agrabota does drag on a bit longer than I'd hoped, but he's dragging it. It's not as bad as he makes it out to be. He's doing too much.
The puzzles. Oh my god. The puzzles. Y'all might need to go on Twitter and apologize to that lady that says Am I playing an action game or am I playing a puzzle game?
Like I said before, most of the puzzles are completely optional. Most of the puzzles just guard treasure. As far as the puzzles that stop you from progressing the story, it's not a lot. He's dragging it again.
I thought this was God of War. I didn't play the original trilogy, so pardon me.
You are not pardoned. This is so stupid. This is like me if I were to start Dark Souls on like the third one. Then I'd start complaining about the concept of fat rolling and stuff like that. That would be stupid. Who told you to start a franchise late and then complaining about stuff that existed in the previous games? It's stupid.
I understand there are puzzles, but the puzzles in this game aren't difficult, but they should not require more brain power than a game like the Arkham series when you actually play as a goddamn detective.
Gotcha. You don't like using your brain. But that's not a valid critique considering the older games had some pretty thought-provoking puzzles as well. Maybe not as much, but they still had them.
There are some puzzles I literally pull up to in this game. I have to take 30 seconds to a minute to analyze my surroundings, to see what's going on before I even attempt the damn puzzle.
So you want the puzzles to be so easy that you solve them as soon as you see them? It's not much of a puzzle, is it?
Put my mask on here. There's a part of the game where you literally have to put on a mask.
That's inaccurate. Not once does anyone put on the mask. That's actually a major point of the mask in the first place. It's like, it's so mysterious and so powerful. It's also so dangerous that people aren't really just gonna put on the mask.
It's just like, oh my god. And it makes it fun. God of War transversal is not fun. It's literally transversal on rails. It's literally look at a point on the map or on the screen and hit X.
Now this is true. The traversal isn't as engaging as it was in the old games. But there's a reason for that. Kratos is old. I don't know if anybody could tell, but the man is old. Kratos got to be at least 50 now. And in a game like, for example, Assassin's Creed Revelations, it also was kind of weird. And it took me out of the, kind of broke my immersion, knowing that Ezio was 50 years old, running and jumping around across the rooftops like he was, you know, in his 20s. Yeah, it's feasible that, you know, some people are around that age and they still do parkour or whatever, but, you know, Ezio's running around with armor, all types of weapons and stuff like that, 50 years old, jumping around. It took me out of immersion. It would also take me out of immersion if Kratos was doing the same things he was when he was, well, in his, like, late 20s, mid-30s. It would just look weird if Kratos was jumping around. So I can see why they changed up the gameplay. Actually, it's estimated that Kratos is in between possibly 1,050 or 1,055 years old. If we were to compare that to like an average mortal, I think it said that he's probably like, yeah, 50 or 55. So yeah, it would look weird if Kratos was doing all the stuff he was doing in his, I think, late 20s or early 30s in the old God of War games. There's also a part in the game where Atreus makes fun of Kratos because he can't jump that far. He says, Dad, I know you can make that jump. I know your knees aren't that bad. So the game also recognizes that Kratos is old.
The map. The compass.
And this is where it gets really stupid.
Look, I understand on a legitimate GPS, right? It's not going to take you exactly where you need to go.
But he is going to act like it should. There's no GPS in this game. There's a compass. Sure, a compass and a GPS are designed to take you where you need to go, but they operate very differently from each other.
Away in a straight linear path from point A to B. But you know, you gotta go straight, you gotta go through a light, you gotta make a left turn, a right turn. Like if I took a tape measure and I measured from point A to B, it would legitimately be a mile. But you know, to actually transverse to A to B, you're probably gonna have to drive maybe 1.5 or 2 miles.
Again, why are we talking about GPS in a game that takes place in like ancient times? Why are we doing this? Why?
Well, the game's GPS and compass don't ever account for that. And because there's a lot of winding ways and rivers and pathways that you're transversing in this game, the compass is almost effectively useless.
So his gripe is that a compass is doing exactly what it's intended to do. It points you in the general direction of your destination. It doesn't take into account what's in between the destination and you.
The compass is just absolutely stupid. All these winding ways and everything, you really just got to pull out the map and say, I got to go north, I got to go east, I got to go west. It's just like, the compass is only really usable if you don't have any winding paths in front of you, which makes it kind of just stupid.
Just so we're all on the same page, we all see this guy complaining about a compass doing compass things, and him just getting frustrated that there's things, there's terrain in between the destination and himself. It has nothing to do with the compass.
Fast travel. Halfway complaint, not a full complaint. Yes, there is fast travel. The problem with fast travel is, unless you're at a fast travel point, you can't fast travel. Which makes fast travel kind of silly. You should be able to fast travel by hitting start and fast traveling anywhere, but you can't. You literally have to travel to a point to fast travel, which makes it dumb.
I wonder if he complains about this fast travel in other games that do fast travel like this, which is actually kind of common nowadays, but I highly doubt it. That's pretty much it for his review. After that, he just starts going on about how Sony games are like third person and how that somehow makes them all the same, even though that's not how that works. God of War doesn't play like The Last of Us. Last of Us doesn't play like Uncharted. Uncharted doesn't play like Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't play like Days Gone. You get the picture. But yeah, that's my critique of his review. I think the next video, like I said, is going to be on The Witcher 3 update. So like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'll see you guys later.